without further ado, of course, we welcome you here at the O.C. Hill Neighborhood Center. And we're hoping that in the near future, that this building, which is an iconic building, gets the support and love from the community that they deserve, and the resources come into this building so we really can have a true neighborhood center. So our expectations is for that to, after November, to start happening for our community on just not the north side, but everybody is welcome at the O.C. Hill Neighborhood Center. So without further ado, I turn it over to Pastor Williams.
God bless you. I'm Pastor Aaron Williams, Jr. from Maddox Memorial. Bid you greetings. Thank God for you. I think it is only right that we invoke God's presence even on this proceeding.
Amen.
I got some amens. I'm all right.
Yes.
I'm at home already.
Yes.
So bow your heads. Father God, in the name of Jesus, we thank you today. We thank you for this yet another opportunity to serve you and serve your people. We ask you, Father, that you would come here in this place and be pleased on what you hear and what is said on today. God, we ask you that you would calm spirits and rest on us right now with your Holy Spirit of peace. God, we ask these and other blessings in your Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. My purpose for being here today, like yours, is to hear and possibly have an opportunity to voice your feelings. Now, what I would like to do first and foremost, after having spoken to Mr. Davenport himself, he gave me a call after the incident in question, and then I had spoken to a few other people. One of those people I spoke to was our chief of police, Chief Keith Porch. He and I we have an open dialogue, and we're able to speak to one another civilly, and I appreciate that. And so in speaking to Mr. Officer Chief Porch, I expressed to him where I stood. And where I stood, I believe, is echoing what Mr. Davenport expressed to me, and that we should all have an opportunity to learn from this situation. And simply that. I have opinions on either side, but what I would like for us to do, please hear me clearly, what I would like for us to do is to erase the lines in the sand that it seems like all of us may have or drawn at some point in time since this incident. Erase the lines in the sand that we have drawn so that we can come together and talk about the real issue. The real issue being, can we avoid something worse having happened than what happened here almost 2 weeks ago? I believe that most of us, if not all of us, have children or are around children, work with children, what have you. We do not want our 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds coming in a situation like this, losing their cool, and then officers feeling threatened doing their job, whether they're good officers or bad officers, something tragic happening. Something tragic happening to the point where there is a loss of life, and on the other side, someone depression is setting in because they're second guessing their judgment, their lives, their careers are over as they knew it. All of those things. All of those things can be diminished here, I believe, in this form. And so, without further ado, I would like to introduce and to present Mr. Davenport.
First of all, thank everyone for coming out today. This is a, you don't mind, I'm gonna relax. This is an issue that is real.
You need to speak up.
Okay. This is an issue that is real within our community, exists within our community, but that is rarely ever talked about within our community in a public forum. I'm going to answer a few questions today. This meeting was supposed to be with the police, and because my case is still pending, they are unable to attend, as Pastor Williams alluded to. And one of the questions that people were asking was, well, why are you still having this meeting? If the purpose of this meeting is to build a bridge between the community and the police are not here. Well, over the last couple of days, the message has gotten lost. It has become a situation where it has become a kill the messenger and the messenger. So I came here today and I decided to keep this meeting today to refocus us back to the issue. Now I understand there are a lot of questions, and I'm here to answer those questions today in hopes that we can get past all of the, well, what did he do, why was he doing this, to get to the real issue, to get to the heart of what we're trying to accomplish here. And what we're trying to accomplish is build a bridge between the community and the police to create an opportunity for both sides to learn from the other in order to avoid situations like this. We all have a current mind state based on past experiences. We all have different past experiences. So that, and that question, well, why am I still having this meeting? It's coming in two forms. When this happened, I was angry. And I went home, I went to my grandmother's, which is my comfort zone. I spend most of my time at my grandmother's. It's where I grew up and where I've spent my childhood, and it's home. It was always home. So I went to my grandmother's, and Elma Shaw had actually dropped me off there, and I was sitting on the porch, and I was speaking to my uncle. Well, I wasn't speaking to my uncle, but I was sitting on the porch, and my uncle looked at me, and he realized he could feel something was wrong. Anyone who knows me knows that I am not someone who talks about what I'm feeling typically. You have to really pry it out of me. And he asked me what was wrong. In my typical Alabama fashion, I said nothing. I'm okay, nothing. And a few minutes later, he asked me again. And I began to tell him the story. And when I got to the part where the officers brandished a weapon, he jumped up out of his chair and he hugged me. Now, my uncle's a former Marine who showed no emotion, and so when he hugged me, it was shocking, it was jarring. I was like, well, what is going on? And it took about 2 seconds to realize what was happening. It was at that time that my uncle had gone back to August 30th, 2006, when he received a phone call from the Columbus Police Department that his son was dead. Same situation that we have here, where officers mistaken an object for a gun. My cousin reacted in a different manner, and he ran. He took 4 steps and was shot in the back. And that single shot killed him. Almost 13 years to the day, he was 26, and that was August 30th. And so when he hugged me, I was brought back to that moment, and I realized that this happens. Whether the person is at fault, the cop is at fault, this happens. This is a real situation that happens amongst our community, and it's rarely ever spoken about. At the time that Trey died, we had no voice. All we did was yell amongst each other, we hate the police this, the police that. and never had an opportunity to actually hear from the police. And that's what I'm trying to accomplish here. I'm trying to create a situation where we can hear from the police. We can look at the video that most of you have seen and hear what the police are thinking at that time. You can hear from me what I was thinking at that time and begin to take those ideas and it's not about training, it's not about policy, because what they did was what they're trained to do. The problem is, in all of these instances, they're doing what they are trained to do. You look at, I was in New York City when Diallo died, when he took 19 shots because a wallet was thought was a gun. I was in New York when Sean Bell died, the night before his wedding, when they thought there was a gun in the car and just let off shots in the car. I was at Brennan Center when the case from Marshall came, when he got shot in his bathroom because they thought there was a gun there. So this happens. And when it happens, the police are doing what they're trained to do. And that's not the issue. The issue is not their training. The issue is the police have a very, very difficult job. We have to recognize the police have a very, very difficult job. They deal with a segment of the population that many of us never come across, never deal with, and that's what they deal with on a constant basis. So when they stop someone who looks like who they arrested 2 days ago, automatically their thoughts go to, well, he's like that. So we have to be prepared. And that's what this forum is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be, well, let's crucify this guy because he did this. And I'm going to get into
You can see how nigga this not
because
gonna hurt.
in all of these situations, neither side is perfect. Neither side is blameless. I am not blameless in what happened. Let's get that clear. I am not blameless in what happened. I am not above the law. One of the questions that has come about from this is, why was he saying his name? He's entitled. Well, no. Let's talk about what happened there. Most of you know me know I'm always in a suit. That particular day, I was coming from the gym. I and had this habit of changing in my back seat. I have no clue why, but I do. I tend to change in my back seat. So and as you guys know, you've seen my driving record, and I'm the first to admit I have a spotty driver. I do. And typically when this happens, I have my license at the ready. I pull up my phone to show my insurance. But in this instance, I had no clue where my license was. I knew it was in the car somewhere, but I didn't know where it was. And so when the officer asked me, do I have a license? I said yes. And I felt his heightened sense. I felt his urgency. And what I was trying to do when I said, my name is Alomar Davenport, I am councilman-elect in the 4th Ward, was to relax him, was to bring him back down, was to take him out of that heightened sense that he had and let him know that I am not a threat. I said to him, I am Alomar Davenport, city councilman-elect of the 4th Ward of Mansfield, Ohio. I mean you no harm. There's nothing going on there. In hopes to now have a conversation so I can explain to him, I don't know where my license is. It's in here, but I need time to get it. I need you to understand that I'm trying to get it. And the second meeting, that's what we will get to. We will get to what I was supposed to do there, how I was supposed to handle that, how I was supposed to relax him and get him to understand that I have a license, it's in here, I just don't know where it is. And I hear what some of the thoughts that are going on right now is, well, you're saying you had a license, but your license is, you was charged with a suspension, license suspension. I can't get deep into that because it is a pending case. I will say this. This is not a case of me having insurance lapse and them telling me that my license is no good until such and such a date. It was not that. I had a license at the time, still have my license in my card holder right now. But and once the case is over, we can get into the particulars of that. So I'm gonna ask that we hold judgment on that until, my actual case is over. But at this point, both of us were in fear at this point. Both of us were nervous at this point. He thought that I was, let me take that back, because I don't want to put thoughts into this officer's head. They're not here to speak. But there was, we were at an impasse. We were in a situation where neither one of us knew what the other one was doing. And that comes with fear. That comes with, a lot of our officers have no clue. There are different segments of our community. His mind was on the arrest that he made such and such time ago of the person who looked like me. And that's what this meeting is really supposed to be about. It's about coming to common ground, to where when I am stopped by an officer, I know what to expect. When an officer stops on a bus, we know what to expect. And what we're trying to do is go home. That's what it comes to. We're trying to go home. The officer, he wants to go home to his family. And the person who's being stopped wants to go home to their family. And within our community, these conversations are never had, so there becomes confusion a lot of times. And that's what this is about. As I said, when this happened to my family, we got amongst ourselves and we shouted and screamed and hollered, and it's the same thing that happens anytime this happens to someone. They get into a silo and they stay amongst themselves, and there's never a real dialogue. And that's what this is really about. It had, over the last couple of days, it has become to put it lightly, a bash. And someone reminded me the other day of the saying I've heard before, but he said, in order to mold steel, it first has to go into the fire. And if it means being able to have a conversation with the police and the community, and if it means these dialogues can produce solutions for how better these situations should be handled in the future, if it takes me being in the heat, then bring the heat. I'll take the heat. Because for me, this is about my son. As someone who studies economics and economic theory and economic policy, I truly believe in the invisible hand philosophy. And it works for government. I do what I do because I want to provide a life where my son can walk and be safe, where I can give my son the keys and not worry about if he's going to come home. Everything I do is for him. And if that motivation benefits the community, so be it. That's great for the community, you know. So all that I do and all of my motivation comes from that. It comes from providing for my son, from providing for my young cousins, so they don't have these situations, you know. If this had turned out different, none of us will be talking about the suspensions or the tickets that I got when I was 21, 22, 23 years old. We would be talking about a dead black man. And that's where we have to get back to. Am I wrong? Yes. This is not to glance over that, but I will have my day in court. The real issue is we have to provide solutions. We have to provide a dialogue. We have to provide a community where our kids can be safe, where parents can send their kids out and feel safe. And that's what this is about. So I decided to keep this meeting to bring us back to that. that is where we need to focus. And as I said, I will take questions. If it means my reputation, if it means my status, if it means my position, if that is my trade-off for my son having a safe environment, so be it. I am here, and I am not going to be quiet about this situation, regardless of who says I should do it or shouldn't do it, because I believe this is what my community needs.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know, it's, in a way, it's good that this happened this way. You know, and I am someone who believes that God puts us in situations for a reason. I believe that I was in this situation to bring light to this. I believe that all the madness that has gone on Facebook and the fact that I am fighting the case and the officers are not able to be here is a good thing. Because I believe, because of the climate and because of what is happening and what is the feeling and what is the rhetoric that is going on with me, we would lose sight of what the real issue is. And so I decided to keep this meeting to get that out of the way. Let's get beyond that so we can get back to the real issue. And with that, as I said, I'm in the fire, and I'm not afraid of it. I can grab a drink of water later on. So those who have questions, those who have concerns about me that need them to be answered, I'm going to ask you to ask them now so we can get back to what we're really trying to do here. Okay. So I will open the floor at this time.
Want to say something? From my point of view, it shouldn't even be about you. Right now, we're talking about the difference between, you can see clips, a difference between a white man beating 2 police officers with a pipe and eventually being succumbed and taken to jail with not a scratch on him. Okay? And then you talk about all of the ones that we know in the black community that have died because of a cigarette or a cigarette lighter flashed, and they're dead. So what I'm saying is that, and the thing about it is, in mass, that becomes a little bit more than brutality from my point of view. It's almost like a genocide. I know some people say, no, don't go that far. But what I'm saying is, you know, there's web pages that can tell you about the thousands of them, not the 1 or 2 that we see on television. So what I'm saying is that training to de-escalate and to keep from the escalation, that's core. So, you know, when you say no training, and then you want to, you know, I can understand how some people, they jumped on you. I had to explain a couple of them off of you. But the thing is, this here is about the attitude of white cops, and guess what? Black cops too. Okay, so then that right there is a certain amount of arrogance. Why that arrogance? Do you think that arrogance could have been the fuel for the escalation? Because maybe you said a word wrong, or how about you talk too proper, or, you know what I'm saying? We got to talk about that too.
Well, and I want to, I don't want to turn, this will not become a police bash.
No.
This is
You
not.
want to get to the core though, right?
Yeah, this is not what this meeting is about. This meeting is not about bashing the police, because as I said, I'm here. This is not about that instance, because I am here. And I've said this a couple of times. I applaud the officers for their restraint in that situation. They pulled their guns, and this is another thing. In these situations, we, because there's adrenaline flowing and because there's different things going on, we don't even understand what's really going on. Because I came back and I was saying they pointed the guns at me. Because I couldn't, I wasn't, you know, I was in the moment. I didn't really know. And when I was able to sit down with Chief Porch and see the video, I was able to actually see what happened. And but that never happened. So we typically go back to our neighborhoods and where I was. Wow, they were pointing the guns and sometimes that's not the case. Like I said, the officers did what they were trained to do. The problem is the scene of an ink pen as a gun. And that comes from fear. That comes from not knowing the community. That comes from, I arrested someone who looks just like him 2 days ago and he had a gun. So this car is probably gonna have a gun. So when I see a silver thing, there it is, there's the gun. Let's draw laws. But this is not a bashing. This is a community, and the police are part of our community, coming together. But
I understand what my brother's talking about, but I'm gonna be honest with you, the police is supposed to protect and serve. Am I correct, sir?
yes,
Let me know that. Now, I'm just speaking for me, I wouldn't wanna be nowhere without the policeman.
correct.
Now, that's coming from me. I know we all have our differences, all have our faults and everything, but I've been seeing, lately, in my area, I wouldn't wanna be nowhere without the police. And when I call them, they come. Because I've been seeing some crazy stuff. Not to no damn wrong what happened to you, but they're supposed to be to protect and serve. So we gotta get the good from the bad, or the bad from the good.
Correct.
We don't wanna bash no one, we just need to understand each other.
Right.
And try to work together. Don't nobody wanna be dead. Don't nobody wanna kill nobody. Everybody gotta go home and think about that in their brain. They gotta live with that the rest of their life.
Right.
It's to be commended how you treated the whole situation. And I think that needs to be taught in our schools, in our curriculum. How to defuse a
I
situation,
agree. Yes,
how to
please.
have self-control. Because just driving yesterday, I was looking at a boy, he was crossing the street, he was about 8, and his little brother was like maybe about 6. I have children. And I looked at him and he said, "B, you're ugly." And all I could do was like, wow, it made me hit my horn. We need to teach these kids and grab them, really, with love. And really, your example of how you diffused the situation was absolutely wonderful. Thank you, because that needs to be taught to our young ones. Yeah.
First, I'd like to say this. It should be taught in the homes.
Absolutely.
The family should teach your kids. Another thing, police all over the United States are taught to take charge. I work with police. I work with security for 28 years. They are taught to take charge. If a man and a woman are fighting, police comes, first thing police say to those couples, stop. One of them's going to say, you can't tell me to stop. There you go. So it's the training. It's the training. It is the training. You take a security officer, he's not trained the same as a police officer, but we do the same job. We do the same job. Police departments bring alcoholic or drug offender to the hospital, put them in the psych ward. Who do they turn them over to? They turn them over to the security officer. But we're trained a different way. Police are trained a different way. They're trained to take charge. Whether it's pulling a gun or whatever.
And then we'll come back to you.
My name is Pastor Martina Duans. A lot of you know me, and I work around in the streets. I'm having a conference on September 6, 7, and 8. Guess what it's on? Be healed. We have a lot of our children, even all the way up to adults, that need a healing. They've been abused, misused, mistreated, molested, and what have you, all their life, and never been healed. A lot of them have never been loved. We need to go back to loving our children, protecting our children, and giving them the real thing. We wouldn't have a police problem. We wouldn't have mass shootings. We wouldn't have a lot of problems that we're having if we can get healed. We can go back and see that we've been mistreated, molested, and abused. But nobody has healed us from all this diseases that's going on. That's the problem in America. That's the problem in Mansfield. We need to be healed before something massive break out. So the Lord laid it on my heart to have a conference of Be Healed. And we're going to have this conference, and we're going to have counselors on hand, preachers on hand. We're giving food away to show love. What did Jesus do? He went around and he gathered the people up. He set them down. He taught them, fed them, and then sent them out. So what we're going to do is work with these people and try to make some sense out of them. And let them know that somebody cares.
Amen.
And what we're asking you, Mansfield, is to come to Elder Bradley's church, the 5th, 6th, and 7th, and bring the people that need to be healed and let them get healed. Let us work with them. So we won't have the shooting that Dayton had and other places. So it don't be a mistake, but it'll be something good happen out of it. It was not by mistake that happened. That was designed by God, because all things work together for the good to those that love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. That happened so that we could show you that we were having this conference. Isn't it funny that it happened at the same time?
Right.
There are a lot of things that are going up, so we're going to ask that people keep their comments brief. There are a lot of people who would like to speak.
Hi, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Andrea Mock. I have studied cognitive behavioral therapy for 14 years, which is just a fancy way of saying human behavior. I work with offenders, people who have committed offenses, who a lot of them have went to prison. And something that I teach is de-escalation techniques. And with de-escalation techniques, it's not just looking at who's an authority, who's the offender, but I think a lot of times when we're in a situation like this gentleman was saying, that the authority figures are taught to assert dominance. And a lot of times all that does is escalate the situation. And we know that when people react on emotion versus their intellect, that often results in miscommunication and sometimes actions that are irrevocable. I work with the APA on training parole officers, people in authority on how to deal with situations by de-escalating them instead of escalating it, which I think we may have seen some of that in your situation. So I would like to offer at any time if the public or even Mansfield Police Department would like to attend some sessions that we can organize, maybe come together as a community to look at de-escalation techniques and how we can talk to each other without elevating emotion. So I just wanted to offer that.
But I think part of the issue is, and God bless you, young man, for being here and telling your story and how you feel about things, because I think a lot of us do feel that way. But you said there has to be a coming together. I don't want anybody to raise their hand, but if there's going to be a coming together, where are the officers? It doesn't necessarily have to be the ones that were involved with you, but how are you going to feel and how are they going to feel towards us if they're not here to even give a voice, hey, this is how I feel, or so many situations drive me to feel this way, or whatever the case, it's gotta be two-sided. Right here, it's just one conversation.
So let me just answer that question, and then we'll go back to, let me answer that question. Let me answer this question. So Chief, I've had many conversations with Chief Porch, even conversations even prior to this incident. Chief Porch wanted to be here. They were directed by the law director, and I know this anyway. I knew this. Because it's an ongoing case, they are unable to attend. This is a part one of 2 meetings. The second meeting will be once my case has concluded, and the officers will be here so we can have that dialogue. And that meeting will be about just what you were talking about. So I want to make that clear. This is not a situation where the police did not want to be here. I have had several conversations with them, and we are going to have that meeting.
Thank you. I was just going to say, you don't have to raise your hand, but has anyone ever experienced personally what he experienced? I experienced it more one time. When I was a youngster, y'all know this, I got a firefighting job. One time, the police, 3 or 4, rode the car and put me up against the wall and put a weapon on me. I was only like 15, 16 years old. I'm 63 now, so it's a lot different now. But the thing is, and they knew me. If I hadn't identified the police by his name and said, you know me, I'd be dead today. That didn't matter. See, I say that because I'm here because I experienced what he experienced. And it's hard to explain unless you really experience it. You have a lot of different emotions, a lot of different opinions. But I know today, if I hadn't called the police name, I wouldn't be talking today. I just say that to give you something to think about.
I'm going to come to you, but I want to briefly touch on this. Because this is ultimately the goal. The goal is to get the police officers into the community, meeting kids, meeting the 6-year-old, meeting the 7-year-old. Now, 8 years down the line, when you run into him, he knows him, and it's like, Alma, what are you doing there? Come on, man. Like, and that is one of the things Keith Porch and I have discussed, is getting the officers into the community so they can learn who is in the community. Because when you know someone, it's very difficult to.
It used to be that.
It was.
It was that.
Remember
It was
Officer
that. We
Chuck
knew our
Norris?
officers.
Chuck Norris?
Yeah, we knew our officers.
Always. That program has already been here.
Yeah, we knew them. How did we know them? They knew us. They got somebody coming from out of state or something?
One of the things we need to do with our kids, we need to do it ourselves, is keep our documents right at hand. So you ain't gotta dig, you ain't gotta reach, put them somewhere you don't have to reach. And also, when the officers stop you, don't be getting smart now, because I've been stopped before several times, And, my license is, a problem against that. But when they stopped me, they said, where you going? I mean, I could have said, none of your business. But I asked you the question. I'm going here, and what's the problem, officer? And, most of the time it was nothing, They stopped me one time because he said I was following you folks, but he kept slowing down. I'm trying to get to the break area, but he kept slowing down. If he'd have kept the speed, he wouldn't have stopped. But he got out, he was agitated. Where you going? I'm like, I said, what's the problem, officer? Well, you followed me too close. I could have could have said something smart, but the main thing is just keep your mouth shut.
De-escalation.
Show me my driver's license, because I knew I didn't have anything on.
Now, I want us to pay attention to Mr. Fagan here, because Mr. Fagan is who we are trying to protect. This is, so,
I believe the biggest misconception, listening to everyone, it's no one's job outside of your community to protect your community. We have to get back to building our community and getting structure back in our community. Again, I heard someone say something about family structure. That's where it starts. You have to take pride in where you live, and then you'll want to protect it. And I heard you speak to the things that are happening now. You know, we're not teaching the kids that our community is something to be protected, and the people in our community are to be protected. You cannot logically expect someone outside of the community to believe that about you where you live. So I think the biggest thing the biggest takeaway for me in this situation is that, you know, because again, like you said, if you grew up with me, you understand how I move, you understand how I talk, you understand that that's just the way I am, I'm not being threatening, and then you don't get a gun brandished on you. To echo your sentiments, the way you conduct yourself is just, I mean, it's easy to say how you should conduct yourself until you've had a gun pointed at you. And as a young black man, that's happened to me, as you know, as far too many times, for an individual who does not have a violent record. Having a gun drawn on me and then me taking the high road has become a normal thing for a black man. Either take the high road or you die. So I think the biggest thing I want our community to start doing is begin to build a community and then chastise those outside of the community. But you can't chastise until you build.
All right, okay, I like that.
You know,
I did too.
Brother brings up a good point. You know, we in our communities, we gotta learn to love each other.
Absolutely.
You know, if we don't love each other, how are we gonna expect for the police or anyone to love us?
Yes.
You know, I find myself as a black man, I grew up out here in the North End, and I'm very skeptical sometimes about coming to the North End because I don't know if my own brother is gonna shoot me.
Yeah.
You know, they see me driving a little sports car, and I don't know if they're gonna jack me for it or not.
Right.
So one thing we have to do is learn to love each other.
Yes.
And I've heard that word love spoken by Pastor Goins. I've heard Nina say the word love. Until we get that love down in our hearts and spread it in our communities, and every one of us in here today has the opportunity to go up to a policeman one day and tell him, hey, I love you for what you do to protect me in this community. And I'm going to be here to have your back if I have to. But I need to see that love from you also. So it has to be reciprocated. And see, in this country has been fostering this hate mentality. And I don't want to mention no politics, you know, but that's the norm now. That's become the norm now. And we got to turn away from that, and we can do it right here in Mansfield. We can start with our community. One thing I did, I opened up the paper this morning, first thing on the front of the paper, and it talked about this same type of situation, but it was in, I think in Columbus or somewhere. Yeah, in Columbus. You know, the percentage of these things happening to black people is just unreal, and it's all because the lack of love. And until we start loving ourselves, like you said, my brother, you might have been mistaken because of an incident that they might have had from a previous situation, because now they see that we don't love each other, so they're not going to love us. So we got to foster that love.
I think culture diversity training is a must with scenarios, because a lot of people don't understand. You can tell them one thing, but they're not gonna understand it until you actually show them. So sometimes you need role play. I think is one, I'm gonna make it quick. Documentation is very important. Regardless if you think the police are gonna do anything about it, you gotta document, because if she documents, he documents, I document, but somebody else comes along, they don't do anything, it opens up to where somebody has to deal with an officer and they have to sue them, whatever. You can sue the individual. To me, I'm a firm, go after the officer, sue them, because maybe they'll stop doing what they're doing, because it's about their pockets, not the city. But on top of that, it was something else I had, better screening of officers. Are you prejudiced? Are you racist? So we know more likely that's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. But black folks, it is white folks.
We as presidents need to do better and help us and love them. Everybody, and stop it all.
Hi, my name is Ray. I'd just like to say, I just hope you guys can continue on the discussion. And all I really want to say was, the fact of the matter is we know that racism is something that we can't say that was truly not a factor. But I think we all should recognize that. But also recognize that how echoing what people are saying about our policemen. I mean, I wouldn't want to be a policeman at all. You know, and the fella in the blue shirt and with the puzzle pieces on the back, he mentioned, you know, this is a white cop mentality. It's a black cop mentality. I think now we have more of a multicultural police force in Mansfield than we ever have in a long time. So I think elements of what you're saying is the diffusing techniques for them, but also for us, whether it's in schools or not. But and I forget I was going to go with that. But, I was going to say. But we have organizations, if you want to really get involved with any CIC, we have We Act, who have been like dedicated to really like make like mending these relationships with the community and the police. I mean, even the city themselves, if you really want to get involved more and more, rather than be afraid of the police or have your kids be afraid of the police, because it's going to happen regardless, but really work with these organizations, because I mean, it's hard, I mean, to not see a cop and panic, but these organizations are really trying to train these officers, regardless of what race they are. And so you see more police force out there, you know, on their bikes, at park events. And I think most of them want to be there. We have a lot of younger cops, but there's also room for improvement for training them. But I think we need to recognize that we have these organizations, and to get involved in it. If you don't know, please look up We Act and NECIC. I don't work for them, so I'm not, but I'm very passionate about it, because I mean, we all have a perception of the police, and I think we all agree that there's some bad cops, there's some good cops, but there's also some bad people and some good people. So we need to figure out, you know, what do we do from there. But just know that there are a lot of people out there, professionals and leaders and youth, who are really trying to like change that mentality and really be a part of that as well if you can. So.
I'm going to bring up a topic that I think is critical for our discussion. We talked about love, and that's critical. It's the only thing that will bring healing in any situation. I think it's commendable. We have pastors here, Pastor Mark Cobb's here, Pastor Aaron Williams here, Pastor Tina Goins here, my husband's here, representing the greatest power to bring about love and change in any situation. And as we talk about going back, that's one thing that we have to begin in our families. Black church has always been central to the existence of our communities, to the welfare of our communities. And it's time for us to make a shift back to our spiritual roots of believing that there's a power to change things greater than we could ever accomplish through discussions, through programs, through education. There is a power that we can access that can help us. And all of these things are good and necessary and critical to us moving forward. But I think it's time that we engage a power that is above our power to ever accomplish.
So, Almar, I just want to thank you for being here and for having this meeting. I definitely commend you for coming out of your comfort zone to come here and talk about these issues. And I just want to ask that you do a follow-up, that you definitely do a follow-up, and you have some action item steps that the community can follow. It's important that we educate ourselves and educate the officers who are there to protect and serve. I have a lot of friends who are officers who work in these penal systems, and they're there for a reason, because there are some people who do things that will harm some of us. So we do need them as well as they need us. So I just ask that you have those action item steps and that we do educate the students. And so I am on the board of Mansfield City Schools, and I can say that the teachers do have a lot of things that they're instructing the students on. We have a lot of partnerships with the Mansfield Police Department, and we have officers inside of our buildings to get the children used to seeing officers. But it does take the community. It takes the families to reinforce those things, to make sure that the children are respectful and make sure that we all know how do we respond. How do we respond properly? One of the gentlemen up front said that we need to make sure that we have our identification, we have our license, we have our registration. Those things are important, and it's important to keep all of us safe. Because I don't want somebody to mistake a pen or a writing instrument, whatever it is, for a weapon, but at the same time, I have to take responsibility too, to make sure that I have those things in a place where I can retrieve them without being a threat, and I can say, you know, when he pulls me over, I don't know why he pulled me over, and I can ask him, no, officer, I don't know why you pulled me over. Please tell me why did you pull me over. Don't make assumptions that he pulled you over because of whatever you were doing or thinking, because it may have been something else. So we have to learn how to respond as adults. We have to learn first, how do we respond, and then we need to teach that to our children. So I just ask that you continue to have those meetings and have some follow-up action items so that people understand how do we correspond with one another and how should they approach us as well.
First of all, you asked for questions at the beginning. It says nobody has asked any questions, everybody has comments. First of all, I commend you on showing restraint. And what that meant was you did not get away from who you were. You showed them their respect. That's number one.
Yes.
We've lost that between individuals.
Yes.
How to respect one another.
Right.
As a police officer, he should show the same respect.
That's right.
As you were telling him who you were, as a police officer, they're trained to take control of the situation. So they don't, at no time will you be able to out-talk them.
Right.
So you won't be able to do that. But you showed them respect, and that's what needs to be taught.
Yep.
That's what these police officers and everybody else needs to know, is how to respect that individual they're talking to.
That's right. Right.
Because if anybody remembers John McDowell,
That's
he
why I
was the
remember.
best policeman. He was the best for our community because he walked the streets and he knew every individual
In the community.
in the community.
That's right.
But now we're getting police officers from this side of the state, that
That's right.
side of the state, out of the state, everywhere except here in the
That's
community.
right.
We need to teach our young people, hey, take some of these jobs. We're
That's
not,
right.
everybody's not slinging that stuff out there on the street.
That's right.
There are
That's
respectable
right.
young men and women in this city who could do a value to us.
That's right.
But we need to learn to respect one another and the position that that person
That's
holds.
right.
Because if he would have went any other way,
Here.
thank you.
All right.
My name is David Palmer here, and I'm appreciate this meeting because we need this dialogue. But I would like to say in the 60s, I worked at the police department. And you have good policemen and you have bad policemen. But the majority of them are good. And they fear for their life and lives too. And when you go out on a call, you never know if you're going to go home to your family. And I would like to say to everyone, and I tell my kids and my friends, whenever police stop you, always be respectful.
Right.
I tell them, put their hands on the steering wheel. Never go into the glove compartment, so they don't know what you got in that glove compartment. So put your hands on the steering wheel unless they otherwise tell you so. And always have your registration, not always have them sometimes like that. But I never go looking for anything unless they allow me to. So therefore, that will save your life. And that's what's so important, because once something happens, you know it's too late. They don't know, they really don't know if you have a gun in their art business or pencil. So we have to realize that when we stop. And we need to educate our kids, make sure always to be respectful and do not go in the glove compartment, or anywhere in the console. Just keep your hands on the steering wheel.
Robert, did you have a question? Robert? Yeah.
Yeah, there were some of the people over in the Fourth Ward that had the opportunity to come over to me this weekend. And their concern was is that with this stopping issue, how did all this other stuff that came about?
You have to be
With
more
Columbus and
specific.
out of the state and everything.
I'm sorry?
From Columbus and all the other places, how did that play a role with all this?
Yeah, so, so I was stopped in Columbus now, and again, I take ownership for anything that I do. I take accountability for anything that I do. Many of you know, I've been in New York for the last, however long I've been in New York. And I still have a lot of New York driving tendencies, right? And I can speak about this because it's not the current case. I made a U-turn right in front of a cop in Columbus, Ohio. Just not even thinking. I can't get deeper into it, but that is real. That is a real stop. I made a U-turn. I was cited for the U-turn, that is where the suspension for this stop came from. But I want to say I can't go into this. But yes, the Columbus thing is real. It's a citation that has been paid for, that I received in Columbus. Okay, you got one more?
Yeah, can I add one more? So with some of the questions that they've had, they're wanting to know how this is affecting you running for position and educating, our kids and everybody else compared to with all the speeding and all the stuff that was listed on you. What is it that you're going to be able to do, and has all those issues been resolved?
Sure. We're still going to court for, it's one issue, the current issue is when I was stopped in August 15th. That's the only issue that we're dealing with. But that's a pending issue. I've been very open about my past. I've been very, very open about my past, and it's a big part of why I came home. Who I was as a teenager, who I was as a 20-year-old is the same teenager, 20-year-old here in Mansfield, here in the Fourth Ward.
That's right, they everywhere. So what you did in the past, I didn't want to speak for you, brother, but what you did in the past, you're trying to correct it and look to the future. Thank you. And help our young black brothers and sisters now. I'm sorry, y'all, I get kind of really hot. So, what you're trying to say, I'm not trying to take over your questioning, because I know you want to know what's going on and if you're going to take care of all of that. And I'm sure he's going to take care of all of that. Right. But we need your mind and your brain and your heart, brother, to help us get through what we got to get through here now. So I don't mean to take over, y'all. I really don't. So forgive me. But I got real hot.
Ask him to cast the
You are needed. You're very valuable.
Yes.
That's right.
We need you. I'm going to get back to questions, but I am going to answer this. Let me answer this question. As I said, I've been very open about my past. It is the reason that I came home. A lot of young kids, and I've spoken about this, a lot of young kids, especially the ones who are on the fringe, the ones who are halfway in that world and halfway out of that world, the only examples they have are those close to them who are deep entrenched in that world. I still do this. I walk across Johns Park and I sit and talk to these dudes because I can. Because I am still known in this community, but I am now seen as the one who got out. I am now seen as the one who went off and got educated and came back. So when I sit with these guys, it's a different level of respect that I now have. The respect that I had as a kid was cool, yeah, but the respect that I have now is I actually have their ear. They will actually listen to what it is that I'm saying, because they know that I've been exactly